Well, hello, Cheryl. How are you tonight?
Hello, Bette. Very happy to be here.
Oh, that's great. We're recording from Australia again. We've come down under. I'm in Brisbane, in Queensland, and Cheryl is in Victoria. And so we're going to have a little hangout here and enjoy each other's company for the next 50 or so minutes so that we can just have a bit of fun and talk about the various things that we're involved in. And just to introduce Cheryl, she was born in Melbourne in Victoria, which is a beautiful city in Victoria. She was part of a large Catholic family, 11 children, and that must have been interesting growing up, Cheryl, having 11 brothers and sisters.
Very, very interesting.
Yes. And her travel took her to New Zealand, and she went for 6 weeks and stayed for 10 years, I think it was. And through that time, she forged some very strong connections with the Kiwis. And of course, she's just recently returned from New Zealand from the William Glasser Institute conference in Cambridge. And so she was reconnecting again with her New Zealand people. Some sadness in that time in New Zealand with a marriage breakdown, but she's come back into Victoria and family here and is having a wonderful time as nanny. Tell us about that, Cheryl.
Um, I can't recommend it more than it's a wonderful thing. I love being a nanny. I love my granddaughter. She's 3 years old. She's so much fun, and she just it's like having a second chance, I think, when you're a grandparent.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Yes, you can and just being able to spend such quality time with them that you never got to do with your children because you were just too busy or whatever, and with your grandkids, because they're not the same worry as your own, the time is just very special.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I always say that it's the best kept secret in the world how good it is to be a grandparent.
Yes, yes.
It is just such a special
Yeah, yeah,
relationship,
yeah.
for sure. And we're talking about mental health, and
Yep.
we're talking about happiness. And I wondered if you wanted to comment. How will you define mental health?
I think mental health for me is about enjoying your current life, surrounding yourself with people that you love and who love you, being positive, and just accepting life's ups and downs because that's all part of life. That's how it goes.
Yes. And Gary was saying that earlier on. He said it's life. It's life as you experience it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, yes, very definitely in the present. What about happiness? How would you define happiness?
Well, my husband gave me a lovely thing before we were married when we first started going out together, and I'll show you the picture. I don't know that you'll be able to read it, but I'll read it for you. It says, "What is happiness? Happiness can't be defined. It's a certain mood, a state of mind. It's sharing everyday affairs with one who understands and cares. It's a tender look or a gentle touch that says, 'I love you very much.' It's a smile of welcome when you're blue, a dream that's shared, a dream for two. And happiness is more than this. It's a warm embrace and magic kiss. It's a special blessing from above. It's what you have when you're in love."
Oh, that is beautiful. And he gave that to you. This is John that I met earlier
Yes,
on.
yes, yes,
Lovely.
yes.
Oh, that's good.
And I think it's more than that though. It's also about being content with yourself, um, and in tune with yourself, loving yourself, and loving others. but accepting people for who they are, like not trying to change people.
Yeah.
You know, if you're happy with who you are and who they are, life's pretty good.
Yes, yes. No, I'd agree. And that was William Glasser talks about that. You're not trying to change other people. You're not trying to say that people you're right and other people are wrong. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's very true.
I did
And
spend a lot of my early years trying to change people,
tell me
but
more.
learned. Yeah, but I learned that wasn't the way. That wasn't the way.
Yes, it's something that seems to be a behaviour that we have learned from others in our life, or it's based on the belief that we can change others, in an actual fact, and you've learned that is not true. So that's
I
very,
have.
yes.
I have.
Do you believe that there are things that can improve, that we can improve our mental health and happiness? Are there things that we can do?
Other things we can do.
Yeah.
I think it's about accepting. I think
Yeah.
it's about accepting. You know, I like the serenity prayer, and you know, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That having learned, you know, I always liked it, but having learned choice theory, it's even got more meaning for me,
Yeah.
because once you accept what you can control and what you can't, it frees you up.
Yeah.
It's you know, it makes life a lot easier, I think.
Yes. For me, it was something that actually took a weight off my shoulders, and I can't control. The only thing
Yeah,
I can control is myself.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When I did the basic week, Bet, um, I remember walking away as if I'd had this massive weight lifted off my shoulders,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'd spent so much time prior to that trying to fix things,
Yes. Yes.
and choice theory just gave me that ability to just know that I wasn't the fixer. I couldn't fix others. They needed to do that for themselves. I could model things. I could talk to them. I could do all that, but it wasn't up to me to fix anymore. It's very, very freeing.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it's certainly, you're not alone in that. There's a lot of people that are thinking that as well. It's. Tell us how you got into Glasser training, because that's an interesting story in itself.
Um, yes, it started back around 1998, I think. Um, I have three sons, and two of them were at school, and relations at home weren't good. None of us were getting on particularly well with each other, and I think I must have walked around the schoolyards with them. I did a lot of voluntary work there, and the principal, I'd walk around with heavy shoulders, and must have looked fairly sad. And the
Uh,
principal said to me one day, "Sheryl, I've got something for you." He said, "I don't know that it'll fix everything, but I'm sure it will help you." And with that, I booked into a basic intensive week with Mary Ellen Davis at her home in Moe, which is down in southeast Gippsland, and Maggie Bolton was the instructor, and I've never looked back. It was, I think I probably cried for 4 days because
Goodness.
it was
Yeah.
fairly, it was very intensive, but it was also things that I'd never thought of before. Never, it was quite scary.
Yes.
Getting
Yes.
me to think about things and do things that had just never been a part of my life. But it was very rewarding.
Yes.
Mm.
Excellent. And you went on from that training and you worked as the regional coordinator for the area,
Yeah.
was that? Yes.
Yes, yes. And we started up a little group called FOG, which is Friends of Glasser.
Right.
And we would meet. We haven't met recently, but we would meet once a term. We
Right.
would do it at the primary school where the principal was. He would give us a room there, and a group of us would all get together, and we'd have up to 10, maybe 15 people there sometimes, and other times you might only get 5 or 6. But
Yes.
we always was always very interesting, always sharing new ideas, new things that were being taught, or might have a particular thing that we would want to talk about. If it was something, most of the women, it was generally always women. There would be some men, but most of them were in education.
Right.
And most of us were parents. So we were, always experiencing, you know, the normal ups and downs of family life, and choice theory was very helpful.
And your current employment is as at the Learning Life for Learning. Remind me.
Living and Learning Inc.
Something like that.
Yes, yes.
And you've been a bookkeeper.
Yeah, I've been a bookkeeper for all my working life, and with the Glasser Institute, I'm the treasurer, and that everyone, I guess, always needs someone to help manage the money. So I'm happy to do that as long as it's not my own.
Yeah. And that's you do extremely well. Yes.
But
so in terms of what you've learned in terms of choice theory and the work that you're involved in at the moment, how does that sort of link up? What are some of the things there that have happened as a result of your knowing and understanding choice theory?
Okay. There's students at work. It's a registered training organisation, and it is a community house. So people have to pay for courses, and many of the students in the English courses, and there's disability, but particularly the learning English courses are migrants or refugees. They've done it pretty hard, and they are not very good at paying their bills. So it's my job to have little chats with them about, how are we going to do this? And one of the things that I've learned along the way is not to get into the emotion of it, to ask the questions, because generally speaking, I'm a fairly emotional kind of person, and I always want to help. So that can be a bit of a curse at times, and I've learnt that I can do it much better if I keep the emotion out of it. But that doesn't mean that I don't care. There's I still care. Anyway, we've one particular story was this woman from Sudan, and she was not a very good payer, and I needed to have a little chat with her. And she also would constantly come to the front window at reception and demand to have the forms filled out for Centrelink or government forms. And she would just hand them to the girls and demand to have them filled out. And I suggested to her that she needed to make an appointment to do that because the girls just don't have the time to do that. And anyway, I sat down with her and I said, okay, well, let's start filling out this form. I'll read you the questions and you can answer them. So I gave her a pen and she answered them. And then I said at the end of that, you know, you can be strong. You can be a strong woman. You can do this. And I'll give you a photocopy. And the next fortnight when you get a form, you fill it out. And if you've got any questions, give me come and ask. So the next fortnight came and she turns up at the counter with this form and the girls sort of go, oh no, here we go again. But she'd actually filled it out herself.
Goodness.
And just wanted to be sure that it was done correctly.
Wow.
So with that, there was lots of thumbs up and well done and hugs and see, you can be a strong woman, you can do this yourself. So, and she also is paying her bill in $20 increments, but she's doing it. So,
yeah.
you know, I don't know that I would have had the skills before to have just had that conversation with her like that.
Yes, yes. So it's about building relationships, isn't it?
Oh,
and
yes.
And you built her trust in you, but also her trust in herself.
Yeah.
And that she was able to do it. So, no.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about relationships.
Yes, for sure. So if we look at the next question, and it's about things, we can't always have control over everything in our lives. As much as we would like our lives to be, you know, just perfect, there is no such thing. And we will always have things that come to us from outside that we don't have control over. How have you maintained a positive attitude in light of facing these issues that are challenging?
I've got a lot of friends, and I talk.
Yes.
I share my problems, not necessarily to have them fixed, but somehow in the talking it makes more sense in my head. I can rationalise it better, and just knowing that those people care enough to listen makes a lot of difference too. You know, and I'm very blessed. I have some very, very good friends, even as far away as New Zealand, Bette.
Oh, goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Is this someone you grew up with, or is it someone that you met somewhere, or?
Oh, in New Zealand, was one of them in particular is a neighbour
Okay.
that I had, and she's been an amazing friend. She's and another one I worked with for about 7 years. I worked with her, and we've gone through some ups and downs together. So, but they, you know, you don't have to live close. Is the thing. And even when our children were young, there were times when we wouldn't speak to each other for months and months, or even a year, you know. But you just pick up from where you left off.
Yes, that's a sign of real, true friendship, isn't it? When you can
do. Yes. Yeah.
And just so important, and it makes you wonder how people who don't have those connections actually exist on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's right. It's got to be fairly lonely, I would think. But then, you know, maybe the suggestion is that you try and seek out someone to talk to. You know, even if it's getting some professional help. I've done that myself at times when things have been too hard, and you know, sometimes you don't want to share some of the bigger problems or the more personal things with friends. You know, you don't want them to judge you, so you that I don't really feel like that now, but I know I did.
Yes.
And getting involved with the Glasser Institute has just helped me too, because I've met people like you. There's Sylvia, Gary, Mary Ellen. You know, Peter, Lacey. I can just rattle them all off, and they're wonderful, strong people that believe in choice theory. They live it. They talk it. I'm very fortunate.
That's a two-way street, Sheryl, because we're very fortunate to have you in our lives as well, and how you are. You talk about communication, and I will send an email, and the response is back, and that just being constantly available, even if it's just a quick email back to say that you'll look at something further, and the work that you do behind the scenes it's a two-way street. I mean, you build trust, and people trust you. So I think
it's a great environment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's about people who have similar ways of thinking about things, and it's all good. I'm just being distracted for a minute. Right, that's okay. All right. So, what role, if any, has sadness played in your own mental health and happiness?
Okay. Obviously, leaving New Zealand was a fairly sad time with the marriage breakup. That was very difficult. And, making the choice to come back here, to home, to family, rather than stay there. And I was worried about being a burden to my friends if I'd stayed there. I was worried about the safety of my children, and just felt that I would be a lot more secure here. I would have loved to have stayed in New Zealand.
Yeah.
But if I had, I wouldn't have married John. I wouldn't have had my third son, Jacob. So, there's always positives. There's always good things come out of things. But and when my father died, that was very difficult. He died a very slow and painful death, and we were able to grieve with him while he was alive. But it was very sad. I would go and visit him 2 or 3 times a week, and always on the drive home I would cry. And then when he finally did die, there were times that I'd just be standing at the kitchen sink and I would just burst into tears and think, what's this all about? But it was sadness. But I didn't allow that sadness to own me. I just let it come freely at the times that it did, and then you don't just move on, because you can't forget. I mean, I still think of Dad, but the sadness is obviously not as strong. But it never, but I think knowing choice theory and knowing how to move from the back wheels and get on the front wheels is a great tool.
Yes.
Because
just that awareness, isn't it? Just being aware that that's where we're at the moment, and as you say, I think that's a very powerful thing to say, that you let that sadness come, but then when you're ready to move, and it's looking at what can you do, what actions can you take, and what can you do.
Yeah. But choice theory has given me the tools, Bette, to understand, like tonight, for instance. I was a bit nervous. I could feel the butterflies in my tummy. But then I was thinking, this is just a chat with Bette. And now that's what we're doing. And it's right. I'm perfectly okay.
Yes. So that was a change in your thinking, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You were telling yourself inside your head, as I used to say to kids, what are you telling yourself inside your head? You were telling yourself inside your head, this was just a chat with Bette.
That's it. And that's all it is.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. So it's about developing habits, and you've talked about a couple there. Habits that can help you to maintain that sense of mental health and well-being. Are there any other strategies that you
Yeah, I ask myself the questions now. It's taken me a while to get to do that, but I ask myself the questions. What do I want? What am I doing to get what I want? How am I going to do it? And when?
Yes.
And I find that really helpful.
Not going the right, you perceiving that things aren't going the way you want them to go, so you ask yourself some of those questions.
Yes, yes. Or if I'm unhappy, or um, yeah, there's a problem and I can't quite work my way out of it. Sometimes I don't have the answers either, but I think just asking the questions moves me forward.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And do you ever use that sort of reflective type questioning with others, say at work or in the family? Have you ever done that? I mean, you may not have. But...
Oh, I do, and at home I get, don't use that on me. Don't use that glass of stuff on me.
Because yes, I'm just thinking in your introduction, John has been known to say that Glasser is a big part of your life. So yes,
Yeah, no, that's true. Just recently at work, I had to give a little talk and introduce myself because I haven't been there that long, and we had a whole of organisation meeting. And in the morning before I left for work, I said to him what I was going to say, and he says, "You haven't said anything about Glasser."
ah,
And I said, "No, I haven't." And he said, "Well, I think you should. It's a very big part of your life." And I was thrilled because he's the one in particular who says, "Don't do that stuff on me." But he recognises how important it is to me. So,
yes,
yeah,
yes, no, that's lovely. Yes,
yeah, yeah. And he's very funny because he'll come back at me and say, "You can't tell me what to do, or it's my choice, or. So, yeah.
it's interesting, isn't it? I'm my husband has never actually done formal training, but I always say he's learned by osmosis. He's learned
Yeah, I can imagine.
living with it, and so he'll say things like that as well. So
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
very comfortable place to be, though. It's very
It
comfortable.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm just wondering what you would like people to take away. We've got plenty of time.
Got
We've,
lots of time, yeah.
we've got lots of time. So, is there anything else that you could add that you would suggest might be useful for people to understand strategies for keeping that balance, for keeping that mental health and happiness attitude?
Um, well, I think if you are happy with what you have, if you're not always looking for something else, if you don't have that attitude of, oh, they've got more than me, or this is what striving for something always higher, always better, always more, but be satisfied with, I'm not saying not to strive for a goal, but just not be dissatisfied with your lot. If you can be satisfied, it helps you to be happy and contented, and that's really important, I think. And if just get out in the fresh air, do some exercise, eat
Yeah.
healthy. I mean, all of that makes a big difference. I'm probably not the best example of a healthy eater, but I know how important it is.
It's that gap between knowing what we know and what we actually do, and I'm thinking of exercise myself, and I know that I would probably be a lot better if I was doing regular exercise, but I still don't do it, so certainly not.
Well,
as
in
much.
New Zealand, we went walking in the morning, and I felt wonderful, and I said to Kathy, I've forgotten how good this is, so I've got to keep doing it. So
Yes.
I didn't do it this morning, but I have done it since I came back, which is really good. Yeah.
Good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was that around the conference venue that you went walking?
No, we walked around Cambridge.
Oh, right.
Round where we stayed at the motel.
Okay.
Up near the race course.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just walked around the flats.
Well, is there one thing that you would like people to take away from this interview?
Well, I think one of the things is that it's actually okay to be sad.
Yes.
It's perfectly normal part of life, and that it's better to be happy, but it's okay. It's really okay. My little granddaughter, she doesn't want to give up her dummy. She loves her dummy and her teddy. And my son, in his wisdom, talked to her for some time before her 3rd birthday and said, when you turn 3, you're going to give up your dummy. Well, of course, it hasn't quite worked that way because she's not ready to give up the dummy. And I suggested to him that perhaps he let it be her choice. And she threw away the spare dummies that she had and was quite sad about that. And I said to him, well, talk to her about that. Let her know it's actually okay to be sad because, those dummies have been her friends for ever since she was born. So, acknowledge the sadness.
Yes.
And but she still hasn't given away the last one. She's still got it.
But you're right. I mean, it's about being ready to do it and it being her choice. And what an important experience for her to actually experience that power of being able to make a choice, because so often children aren't able to make choices. Then when they get into a situation where they do make choices, it's often not a good choice in what they're doing. So they need to practice it, just the same as they need to practice how to ride a bike or do all of that sort of thing. So
that's right.
Yes. What else does she do that shows that she's meeting her needs?
She is a little girl that knows what she wants, Bette. Has ever since, from the moment she opened her eyes when she was born. She's very easy to look after because she will tell you she's hungry. She knows what she wants to eat. And when she's tired, she'll say, I go to bed now, Nanny, and off she goes. And she has a sleep. And she can play quite well on her own, and but then also, we'll let you know that it's time for you to play with her too. She's my grandchild. She's the best.
She's beautiful. Can't do any wrong. I know.
Oh well, no, she can do wrong. She can do. I'm not that blind.
I just remember with my youngest granddaughter being in England when she was born, and then over there when her younger brother was born as well, and just the fun that we had together, and it's just being able to be an absolute idiot with somebody and love it. They just absolutely love it, and
that's right.
I found that really great for me because it met my need for fun, and there was no judgment about silly really grand she's doing this, and
No.
we played games the whole time, and for me that it was just so much fun, and it met that need in a huge way, as
Yeah,
well
yeah,
as
yeah.
love and belonging need, of course. So that was good. Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads into something else that I think is, I wanted people to take away is the importance of fun. Like I love to laugh,
Yeah.
love it,
Yes.
and to have a bit of fun in your life, no matter how long as it's not hurtful, then it makes you feel good.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you have fun, Sheryl?
How do I have fun?
Yeah.
As you know that when we have our board meetings, we have fun.
Yes.
um, how do I have fun? Just Well, certainly with Lani, with my granddaughter, there's we dress up. I wear my Mickey Mouse ears and silly things like that. Um, at last week in New Zealand when we went to Hobbiton, we danced around the maypole in the party garden. I mean, you don't have to be uh, make a spectacle of yourself or anything like that, but just have a good chuckle, enjoy a good laugh, um, enjoy people's company. I don't need to drink or anything like that, to have fun. I can just have fun. Mm,
Yes. Yes.
mm, mm.
Okay. Well, I've enjoyed chatting with you, Sheryl. It's been a real pleasure to have you on this summit. And I think that you've been able to share with people your experiences in a way that would help people to recognise it's okay to be sad. I think that's a very powerful message you've put across. And I think that anyone who is watching the video will gain a lot from it. So thank you. You're quite an inspiration, and it's been wonderful to chat with you. So we'll sign off and go out of the YouTube. The next um, interview is with Karlika, and
Okay,
Karlika in Alice Springs. And so when it is at the top of the hour, that interview will start with Karlika. If
okay,
you're in Australia, in Brisbane, it would be at 9 o'clock Brisbane time. I think it's 8:30 at Alice Springs time.
that's
Otherwise,
correct.
check
Yeah.
what time that is, but we'll enjoy talking with Karlika. So, a huge thank you, Sheryl. It's been lovely,
Thank you, Bet. I've enjoyed it. It's been great.
and we'll meet at the next board meeting, I imagine.
We will. We will. See you then.
Thank you.
Bye.